themselves. Idris versus Vox is a matchup that can really go either way. It's not, neither one of them has a clear-cut advantage, but whichever one does pull a lead early on does end up having a massive advantage.
Yeah,
Fortress ban here.
Yeah, they're going to adjust the draft. So Immortals adjusting the draft so that, again, the Fortress was picked on Cloud9 as a second pick here to counter the Lyra. So now they picked the Lyra and banned the Fortress away. So now that leaves Cloud9 with a few options. They may pick the Koshka, which is risky into a Lyra composition. But they also might give the Koshka over to Immortals too. So this is a very interesting dilemma for Cloud9 here. But I think they'll probably lock in either a Lance or Arden, most likely. But I think Gabe will probably lean towards the Lance here. But they may even surprise us with the Baptiste or Finn, who knows. But I think the Lance part makes the most sense for Gabe Visuals especially.
Yeah, we'll see where they are going to go with this one. Certainly, a captain lock-in feels safest right now because it gives away the least about what you want to achieve. Unless it's something like a Fortress. That does tend to telegraph what you're trying to do. But the Koshka is going to be the lock-in in the end for Cloud9, going straight for the aggression.
Yeah, very likely going to be another aggressive early game that they're going to try and run. It leads even more towards either the Arden or the Lance that for Cloud9 because they love to pair those two together to try and take over the jungle early on. So Immortals, they're going to need something that's going to be able to either duel against them early on or just something that can survive and deal with being pushed in aggressively.
Yeah, Koshka with an exceptionally high win rate right now, so 63.3% win rate. Koshka definitely making her mark on the meta once again. This was a similar situation last season as well. We saw Koshka towards the end of the season really ramping up, but the Kestrel going to be the lock-in coming through here for Immortals. Something that can be flexed to both jungle and lane, but I'm sure this final pick will tell us where that's going to go.
Yeah, I think given the Koshka pick, I think that Baptiste may make sense here because Baptiste is good against Koshka. He also can protect the Kestrel. And with Lyra and Baptiste, they're both kind of high sustain. So Samuel or Baptiste would make the most sense for Immortals here for the A-side draft.
Yeah, you want to have something that is that counter-engage or the anti-engage, so to speak. So the Baptiste fits that bill perfectly. We saw at the Unified Live Championship in London that when Koshka was picked up, Baptiste was the hard counter to her. It was why we started to stop seeing Koshka all the time because Baptiste was available. But now this also makes the Lance pickup a little bit trickier as well. And so they're going to go for the Crow. The TSM special being pulled out by Cloud9 here. Oh boy.
Yeah, the chain CC from the Koshka captain, the Krull in the jungle here. We've seen this once before. Cloud9 lost to this composition when TSM played it. The question is, can Cloud9 reenact it in the same way that TSM managed to pull it off? Because FlashX tweeted about this composition, saying that this requires the utmost coordination to be able to pull a composition like this off.
Yeah, and are they going to do Koshka captain or Crow captain here? It might be a Crow captain because Koshka is CP and Vox is CP, or they may do double attention bow with Crow, right? So let's see what comes out, but they do have to have that synergy like TSM did to execute this composition.
All right, so what is it Immortals are going to be trying to achieve in this game? How do they have to play around this?
It's going to be about using the Baptiste and the Kestrel to counter the engages. Let them come into you and then hit them with the stuns from the active camo, use the Ordained, and use the Fearsome Shade effectively.
All right, we'll see if they're going to be able to make it happen. We're heading into the third game of our first North American series of the day. It's Cloud9 versus Immortals. Let us know who you want to take this series on Twitter using that hashtag Vainglory8. But it's time to head on into this one. The final game begins between Immortals and Cloud9.
Thank you very much, guys, once again. And what a game. What a series, even, to start off the week here at Scoundrel. We're going to game number 3, and hang on a second, Gabe Vizzle, he's on that Koshka.
Yeah, again, this can be super aggressive early on because of the base damages that Koshka has from her twirly death, but again, you're going to see this A-side rotation, make a very aggressive move into the B-side jungle, basically deny some of the early dueling that you can get around the Elder Treant, deny potential level 2 brawls between the Koshka Krull and the what would have been the Lyra and the Baptiste. Old School did his best here to try and push this in. It's going to force Zeo to actually not share the backs and move up to lane, and that's going to allow Max Green to actually end up sharing the gold and experience with T-Tigers as they move through those back camps. Zeo had to move to lane because Old School did a really good job of shoving that in, and you don't want to lose too many waves to the turrets, even if you are, trying to share those back camps.
All right, not a lot of ambient gold for Dienzio then, but he does pick up a few of these lane minions. It's fairly important for him, and scaling up nice and well. There we go. He gets level 2, and he's going to back off now as well. And let's have a look how these teams are going to interact in team fights here. TSM, Cloud9, Flash X tweeted out, yeah, it requires an immense amount of coordination. I think Cloud9 are going to be one of those teams that can pull this Koshka captain off. How is it going to interact here with Immortals team fight?
Well, Immortals, I'm hoping that Max Green is going to prioritize a Crucible after the Fountain. It's something that we saw Gavizzle not do versus TSM, and it might have cost them huge swings in team fights that TSM were able to land consistent forms of CC against. I also think that Batiste is a much needed pick into this composition, specifically because the Fearsome Shade is going to be so good at disengaging this C9 composition. You know, C9 are all about level 6, turn that trigger, get the engage, chain CC onto a key target like Zeo or Tigers himself. But if T-Tigers is positioned correctly or can reflex block before he gets that Fearsome Shade off, then you are looking at a potential for a great disengage from Immortals. And if a disengage comes through, Koshka Captain is about, you know, as useful as a... I don't know, I can't think of one of those analogies, it's too late for me, but essentially, going to be pretty useless. So yeah, Koshka Captain needs to be always aggressive, always seeking to put damage down or using her ultimate to lock someone down. If you can disengage her and have her run away from you, then it is basically a shooting range for DNZO. You should be able to take her down quite quickly. So again, I think Fearsome Shade is going to be super influential here. T-Tigers is going to have to be placing that and using that at exactly the right times. I also think Lyra, with her Bright Bulwark, is going to be super, incredibly useful at disengaging or at least slowing the engages of these compositions. So I think keep your eyes. I think this is a better composition against the Koshka Captain that Immortals have pulled out here compared to the likes that C9 had against TSM.
You know, I was about to say the same thing. Immortals have drafted so well here. Gavizzle and Joseph, though, going for some cheeky steals. Ordain does come through. Joseph is going to get stunned up. He's actually popping the boots here, but Max Green is going to meet them. Brightball is going to snail them all up. Uh-oh, Joseph's going to get jumped on here. T-Tigers running at him. Does dash towards the Elder Treant. Might just get away, though, but T-Tigers still wants to chase him. That bad mojo slowing him up very, very slowly. He's trapped in the Ordain now. Just jumps to Max Green, but that will be first blood going over to T-Tigers. Gavizzle in a little bit of trouble here, but T-Tigers doesn't want anything to do with him. It's actually going to steal away some backcaps here.
Yeah, great aggressive start here, putting pressure on a Koshka. Cruel composition early on means that you are going to make it slightly softer blows when it comes to level 6. But again, don't lax on your item prioritization here for Immortals. I want to see reflex blocks. I want to see them early, especially as you're heading towards level 6 for Joseph. So I think Zeo and T-Tigers are going to need their own. I really want to see Max Green hit that Crucible as early as possible because you want to make sure you're giving no breathing space to C9 here as Immortals. You want to make sure that there's no way that they can find the engages as readily as TSM were against C9. Because remember, if they can't find the engages, the composition doesn't really work. I mean, what does Koshka Captain actually offer to the table other than locking someone down and good high base damage on the Twirly Death? Not a lot here, Jaws. So that's where Immortals are going to be placing their priority, making sure these engages are very difficult to pull off from C9, either by using the instantaneous active camo from Zeo, the Crucibles, the reflex blocks, and also, like we said, the Bright Bulwark and the Fearsome Shade.
Not at that point yet, though. T-Tigers is only level 5. Level 6 on the horizon, however. T-Tigers trying to make moves in the mid lane. But no, Team C9 are just going to back off. And Old School and Gavizzle, they are fairly mobile. That's something we've got to keep in mind. Sonic Zoom and Gavizzle just being naturally quite fast with that Koshka pick is going to lead them to safety more often than not. But T-Tigers has hit the level 6. The ambient XP from the lane has helped him out massively. And now we'll see if they want to make a play here. Joseph has only just hit that level 6 as soon as I got those words out my math. So here we go, Cloud9 and Immortals now. They're at their breaking point and they might want to try and fight each other right now.
They've got a Fountain, they've got Tension Bow for Joseph, both Old School and Joseph, and Vizzle have picked up reflex blocks here.
T-Tigers has been found, he just gets jumped on. There's the From Hell's Heart, there's the smite, there's the kill. Joseph will take that one, and they are just going to secure themselves a Crystal Sentry as well. Didn't see that one coming in Scoundrel, and I don't think T-Tiger saw it either.
No, again, the literal sense of the word there, Jaws, that the vision hasn't been excellent here from Max Green, hasn't had the opportunity to land some pretty influential scout traps. He's going to get dived on here.
Oh, hey, Max Green, how's it going? Fountain's going to get popped. That Sidra doing a lot of work as well. Gavizzle, however, was tanking up those turret shots. As Old School and Joseph did back away nice and safely, but T-Tigers is here in the lane. Max Green fairly low, though, so I can't imagine they'll look for a fight now.
So C9 picked up reflex blocks in every carry because they know how important it is that Fearsome Shade doesn't land in the early game to just disengage all of the fights that C9 are trying to find. Really, sort of, I think, sensible item buy, and also very good against the Ordained. Like I said, though, this is a composition that has the tools to deal with that kind of engage from Immortals. They've got the Bright Bulwark, like we said, the healing on a singular target from Lyra, the Sigil obviously so important. It does look like C9 are hungry for this, though. They keep looking to put pressure onto any target that they can. They might even go for tower dives here as they shove this wave relentlessly in.
Oh, Joseph throws his From Hell's Heart in the mix here. They find Max Green. TNT going fairly low. Nice active camo stun onto Old School. He is able to Sonic Zoom away from that turret.
Oh, I really would have liked to see T-Tigers. As soon as the ultimate from Cruel came out, I would have loved to see T-Tigers just slam down the Fearsome Shade. But again, C9 so good at capitalizing on even the smallest advantage are going to take the gold miner away for free here because Immortals just cannot contest it. Excellent rotations around just taking one kill in a team fight here in the mid game, and they are going to get a decent payout for it as well. Something that C9 are just so good at doing. They don't let anything go unturned on the map. When they find an opportunity to get something, they will take it. Reflex block out. Sorry, I was going to say Reflex block are now all up for Immortals, Jack.
Oh, yes, they are. Exactly what they've done. They've taken the goal. They've taken the lead in that sense as well. Got about 1,000 in their pockets. Not as big as it's been thus far. But Joseph using that From Hell's Heart on cooldown, it seems. Up in a couple of seconds. Let's keep an eye on that one. Let's also keep an eye on Gabe Vizzle. Has just dinged level 6. There's Yummy Candy Frenzy straight on to OT Tigers. That's not where you want to be. Again, just gets taken out. That lockup from C9 just proving all too much from Hell's Heart from the Yummy Candy Frenzy. Enough to take him down.
Immortals' positioning for me just was too aggressive. You know, you are a composition that will do well by just staying back and allowing C9 to make the move. Maybe that would have been too lackluster. Again, C9 taking the opportunity to get at least a bit of pressure here onto the Crystal Sentry. So easy to capitalize for C9. They're going to get this so quickly and readily. And unfortunately, Immortals can't punish because they don't have the portal. But Max Green looks like he wants to chase this down. He's very
close to level 6. He just needs to take one of those minions, but Cloud9 want the fight and they want it now. Fearsome Shade is going to get blocked. DNZ on the back line doing 3 damage. We'll see what goes on next. Oh, T-Tigers just gets erased from the fight. Joseph picks him up with a smite. And that will be another kill for Old School as well. Dashing forward, and 2 members of Immortals fall, and Max Green run for the hills.
Oh, they were so over-eager to try and punish C9, but you cannot make that move into a composition like that. The one weakness of C9 is they have to close the gap against a Lyra with Bright Bulwark. They have to get through the Fearsome Shade. They have to try and lock down DNTO through an active camo, which you can instantaneously activate at some point soon. Why make it easy for them and then run directly into them? I understand the reasoning there. That was like, okay, they're low. They just came off the back of a team fight. We might be able to punish them for taking our Crystal Sentry. But you didn't actually force them to use many cooldowns in the last fight, or at least not any cooldowns that you had up to give you the advantage. They just made it so easy for C9 to turn around onto them and say, okay, well, you literally ran at us. And it also made the angling of the Fearsome Shade so hard for T-Tigers because he only managed to land it on 1 or 2 members of C9. They split up and played around it so nicely, and Immortals are on the back foot already.
Joseph wants to make some ink work here as well. Bright Bulwark has gone down for Immortals. That's a big tool. Ordain does come through. Here comes the only cat from Frenzy. They're just going to just pin DNTO to the floor. Joseph picks him up. And that'll be another kill going over to Cloud9. They're just going to chase down T-Tigers. He ends up falling. Old School almost fell as well, but that ace buff will heal him up. Immortals falling by the wayside now. It's 8-1. Does look like in the Immortals train, Scoundrel, the steam has just all run out.
Oh, they disrespected the Vox Silence. The Vox Silence came through. They managed to chain it into 2 ultimates onto Zio, the only target that is really crucial to lock down in these fights. I don't know, maybe Max Green has to consider blocking the Silence to stop the easy engages coming out from C9. You know, if the individual reflex blocks are there, they should be able to stop the initial engage from the Koshka. Need to think about that because the Crucible wasn't even used in that fight by Max Green. Maybe the silence is maybe more of a priority for them because that silence from Old School means that it's so easy for C9 to chain their CC onto a target that can't use anything because they're silenced. Did it so well there. I mean, C9
hard for Immortals to just disengage here at this point.
Yeah, I think the problem was Immortals got so eager to try and be aggressive with this composition. I don't think you need to be aggressive with this composition. If you just wait this out, hit certain item spikes, play at range, just try and clear waves as best you can, like the C9 composition falls off really, really hard. You get Atlas finished for Max Green after you finish your Crucible. Great, you've shut down Joseph now. Really important item. You disengage. Every time they try and force an ultimate, you pop T-Tiger's ultimate, make them forced to use the Crucible, and then you can use whatever else resources you have to slow them down, like the Bright Bulwark, the slow from the Bad Mojo, the Ordained. But Immortals got too eager to try and punish C9 in situations where they probably couldn't have done so. And C9 have just turned around and said, okay, well, we'll take these 3 fights.
Now they're looking all too free. Now let's have a look at Cloud9. Their itemization right now. Joseph, he's picked up the Aegis, he's got the Tension Bow, he's got the Poison Shiv. He's just running and gunning at this moment. And Old School's just left completely free on the back line to stack up that breaking point as well. Immortals maybe stepped a little bit too far in their own jungle. There's the passageway, followed through actually by 2 members. And one left on the sidelines here. Nice silence onto 2 members of Immortals. They're still chasing him down. Good stun onto Old School. There's going to be a fountain to heal everybody up. But now Dienzio's left completely alone. Gets slaughtered by Old School as he picks up his 4th kill of the game. Cloud9. As soon as Immortals step anywhere near their jungle, they just pounce on them and take the kills.
Yeah, at this point, C9 can continuously search for fights, and I think Immortals are just really trailing in terms of their own damage output and defensive capabilities. They split there. That was really, really important for C9. They split Zio up. What really you want to happen is make maximum effectiveness out of all of your defensive cooldowns, including the Sigil, including the Bright Bulwark, and that's by having everybody stacked on top of each other. There isn't really a drawback by stacking here for Immortals, apart from the fact that the Vox resonance bounces will hurt a little bit harder. But this is a weapon power Vox, so you're not overly worried about resonance bounces against him because it's obviously not the primary form of his damage. You're only going to get the base damages coming out, which are pretty low. By splitting, you actually make it easier for C9 to then focus down onto one target. I think Immortals need to stay grouped to make absolute prime use of all of those defensive abilities that you have.
Decent gold payout collected.
Absolutely. And Bright Bulwark being one of those. And we spoke about it in the earlier stages of the game, and we said that's going to be a big disengage tool, along with the Fearsome Shade, the Passageway as well. But C9 just all too readily jumping on one member, like you said, just destroying and deleting them. And it's very hard for Immortals to really do anything after that. That Vox Silence doing absolute wonders for Old School and the crew. Now Cloud9, they take another gold miner. They get priority in the lane here as well. They're going to go shop for a couple of items, or at least core bits of items. A couple of infusions coming through as well for Gate Fizzle and Old School. Now, they're just prowling around in Immortals jungle. They've already taken it and erased that Crystal Sentry, so they've got pretty much free reign over this side of the map.
And Immortals have to be so careful here. T-Tigers, he might step to his death if he's not careful. I believe they know what's going on here.
He does spot them, yeah. Here comes the ultimate coming through for Cruel. Gate Fizzle does get really low, though, but it doesn't matter. T-Tigers already falls, and the passageway is going to get used from Max Green. Old School going to follow that one through, and in fact, the whole of Cloud9 are going to follow it through. Dienzio, last member alive, goes into the active camo, but Old School, undeterred, is just going to kill him under the turret.
Ace.
Does end up trading 1-for-1 in that instance, but turned out to be a 1-4-3. And now Cloud9, they are kind of stuck in this space. So, yeah, well, Old School's not. Joseph is a little bit, but still finding that ace buff minions are going to come through, and that'll be another turret for Cloud9.
Max Green didn't even use the Crucible in the mid-fight either. He saved it until the very end at death, I believe. And I don't think Fountain was up, because that didn't get used in that fight either. So Immortals, again, just struggling to contend with this hard engage coming out for C9. They aren't... I think they had an opportunity in the early game, especially when they still had their first turret up, but now C9 are just punishing them. They took that Crystal Sentry, and what is so good about taking Crystal Sentry early on as well is there isn't really a retreat, or isn't really a refuge for the Immortals composition anymore. They can't hide in their own jungle. They have to be super careful about where they position. And by taking that Crystal Sentry, a chase down composition like this has a lot more space to work with. It reduces the map pressure that Immortals have, meaning that C9 can essentially chase them wherever they want. No longer are they worried about a Crystal Sentry ruining their day. They can like run them down all the way to their base at this point in time.
That is such a scary prospect. And Kraken's going to get started up as well. It's about halfway there to capture. So I say half, it's about a third now. There we go. Immortals coming through. They do throw a bad mojo out, but that's not exactly where it is. And that's going to be taken by Cloud9. 2-man silence. In fact, 3-man silence. Bright Water comes down, stopping Cloud9's advances. Fearsome Shade's going to get blocked. Gate Fizzle still holding on to that ultimate. Now goes in to use it. Yaimi Cannon Frenzy on the back line. T-Tigers gets taken out, and that'll be Old School going down as well. No, Dienzio going down as well. Even Max Green on the run. Cloud9 find 2. Matt Screen, the last member alive. Wartreads is going to get pot from Joseph. Old School is going to chase him down as well. They're trying to find this ace. That Kraken's marching down the lane as well. This could spell the end for Immortals.
Old School's just going to find Max Green here. I think this could be... I mean, basically, if they take out Lyra, there's no way to defend and no way to prevent an engage coming out for C9. So taking her out later means that even if the respawns for Immortals come through, then she's not going to be there to defend them. It's not a bad play here for Old School. You might look silly, but it's not a bad play because it means this end is pretty much guaranteed.
Well, turret 1 destroyed. There's the From Hell's Heart on to DNZO. T-Tigers. Going to get that ordained off on Joseph, but he's going to block with the reflex block. Now they have to turn their attention towards that Kraken. It might just take this turret scoundrel. I don't know here. They haven't got enough damage. Cloud9 just re-entering the base here. Like you said, this might just guarantee it. The Tigers and the NZO, they are very healthy, but Cloud9 is just going to focus. The Vein Crystal, it's going to go down. Immortals know it. Cloud9, they take the series.
It got to the point in this game, Jaws, that whilst the composition from Immortals was pretty decent at protecting from these kind of engages, that they were just so many item spikes behind that even if they wanted to play it perfectly, they didn't have the resources at their disposal capable of preventing what the C9 composition wanted to do. You know, you were an Echo out on Gabe.